Hello and welcome to Pattern of the Ages, a podcast about the Amazon Prime show, The Wheel of Time. My name is Tony, and joining me is Ryan.
Hey, glad to be back talking about the new episode.
Today, we will be discussing and recapping episode 5 of The Wheel of Time, titled Blood Calls Blood. Please note there will be spoilers for episodes 1 through 5, so if you haven't watched yet, you may want to pause this and come back later. However, we will be avoiding spoilers for all future episodes. Ryan, episode 5, I thought it was pretty good. What are your general thoughts?
Yeah, I liked the general flow of the episode. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Why don't we start off by jumping into our recap of the episode?
Okay.
Why don't you begin?
Yeah, so this episode was directed by Sally Richardson Whitfield, and it was written by Celine Song. And both of them, I haven't heard their names before, but just to note.
Yeah, this is a new director.
Yeah. So the opening scene is sort of like the funeral for the Aes Sedai who died at the end of last episode. And we have Alana, and she's sort of crying because she lost one of her warders. And then Stefan is mourning the loss of his Aes Sedai that he was bonded to, Karini. And they have like their ceremony, and Stefan keeps the ring that Karini wore. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was a pretty interesting scene. For one thing, like those graves were really shallow, like they were barely deep enough to get their bodies in.
I wonder if there's a reason for that, or
yeah, I don't know. I thought maybe they would mention it, but they didn't. So the graves were really super shallow, and I thought it was a really nice touch how the camera pulled up and you got like an aerial bird's eye view of the scene, and the graves made it look like a wheel, like the Wheel of Time.
And I think they use that shot in a lot of the trailers.
Yeah, it was a nice opening. Probably one of the better cold opens of the season so far, I'd say.
The tone, you could tell the tone they were setting for the whole episode.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so then we have a time jump.
Mm-hmm. So were you kind of surprised that we jumped 1 month?
I was like, I didn't
into the future.
I didn't see that coming at all. But it's probably, I guess it makes sense for the plot, because if they're that far away from the White Tower, then they need to do something to kind of speed the journey up. I bet the book readers hated this though.
Yeah,
it really moves things along.
Well, not to go into spoilers, but they don't go to the White Tower in the first book even. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that they chose to do that rather than just saying like they traveled. They wanted to actually show the passage of time, like, and you can kind of see the characters look a little different even.
Yeah.
Yep. Which I wonder if they filmed this episode after the first lockdown.
Oh,
and that could be why they look a little different too, because
it could be
because they shut down production twice.
Oh, I didn't know they shut it down 2 times.
Yeah.
What a bummer. Well, yeah, but at any rate, the narrative jumps forward 1 month, and we see the crew. Well, not everybody, but we see some of the characters arriving at the White Tower. Moraine asks Lan if Nynaeve is prepared. What does she mean by that, do you think?
Yeah, I think that there's just a lot, because we're still thinking about what happened a month ago for them, but how she healed everyone and what scrutiny will come with that, with the Aes Sedai. Like, obviously they want to train her.
Yeah, so I guess they're just wondering if she's prepared for the attention that she's going to get from certain Aes Sedai, and try to be kind of influenced to join Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we have Stefan, and he's still with them, and they say that he's there to deliver Queenie's ring to the White Tower. So basically return it to them.
Yeah, this seems to be an important thing for them, that he return the ring.
And they also say that Lan and Moraine are talking, and he says, like, do you think that the other 4 are here when they bring that up again? And she says, we'll find them if they are there, and we'll find them if they're not.
Yeah, either. So yeah, obviously the point is that she's still committed to finding them, even if they can't find them at the White Tower.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so moving along, Matt and Rand, we switch perspectives to them.
Mm-hmm. And they're also traveling with, seems like, a large group of people.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. It just seemed all of a sudden they were with
a
group of people. I mean, I guess at some point in the past month they met up with some fellow travelers.
Or maybe it was just a flow of people because they're also arriving to the White Tower.
That's true.
But a kid, like, they're walking and a kid basically runs into Matt, and you could tell right away that Matt is not in good shape.
Yeah. Yeah, he is not very forgiving of being bumped by this small child.
Yeah.
Then they see the mountain.
Yeah, so they see the mountain. It's called Dragon Mount.
Is that mentioned in the episode, or is that something you know from the books?
I don't think they mention it, but it's just something to note.
Yeah, I don't think they mentioned it in the episode.
It might say it in the X-ray trivia.
Okay, yeah.
But Rand says, like, it looks familiar to him, and then
yeah, what's that? What's that about?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe something with his dreams, or I don't really expand on that any.
Yeah, weird. Maybe it was something that got cut. Maybe it was something that got cut out somewhere along the way where he that may have been explained at some point, and maybe they just cut it out in editing or something.
Yeah,
it does seem odd to mention that and then not follow up on it at all.
Yeah, but they note, like, well, we're also at the White Tower, and they walk into. So we see them actually. It does like a pan of the whole city, but they end up walking into the main village square. And Rand decides that they should get a room in the inn and kind of clean up before they go straight to the White Tower and plead their case, kind of thing.
Right. So what did you think about the look of the White Tower and all the area around it?
Yeah, I think it looked pretty good. I liked the effects on the landscape shot, and I thought that the city looked really populated. Like a lot of the other scenes, we were thinking that the set kind of looked too big,
Yeah.
And I didn't see that problem at all, at least for the outdoors.
Yeah, it did look pretty cool. I thought that it was really I mean, I like that it wasn't just a white tower with no town around it, like that's what I kind of pictured mentally when they were talking about the White Tower. I just figured it was like the Aes Sedai headquarters and that there wouldn't be anything around there because it was just, their headquarters and nothing more. But I was surprised to see that there was a whole like city around the White Tower, and that adds a different element to the story.
Yeah. And in the aerial shot, you can see that it's actually like a little island in the middle of like a river.
Yeah, it's really cool. I enjoyed that part. So Rand in their hotel, they get a room, and Rand is they're both like laying in bed, or at least Matt with one T is laying in bed. And Rand is trying to convince him, and Matt's upset because he still, I guess, feels guilty that he killed the family back on that farm. And Rand is trying to convince him that it wasn't him that killed the family. But Matt is, I guess, haunted, distraught that he may have done it. Yeah. And this goes back to something we talked about in the last time we talked, that it wasn't exactly the show doesn't make it exactly clear who killed that family on the farm, and here they're just kind of pointing that out, I guess.
Yeah, so they're leaving it vague, kind of thing.
Yeah, I like that, actually.
Yeah,
gives the character a little bit more depth, that he's not just kind of going insane from magic or whatever, like he's obviously there's something wrong with him because he has It's not exactly clear, but I guess that he's got the sickness from touching the one source,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. But I don't know. That's not super clear to me because it doesn't show him doing anything. It doesn't. It's never shown him weaving, right?
Hmm.
So that's a little bit. It's not confusing, but it's just um, it's a little bit gray as to why exactly he's touched with this kind of madness or whatever. And then they add the additional element of him being like haunted by, did he or didn't he kill this family at
Hmm.
the town. So that's, I think, some pretty good writing by the
I
the writers on the show.
think part of his trauma too is um, in the first episode they really kind of wanted to show that he was the one that was taking care of his sisters,
Right.
and
Oh
then
yeah, yeah. Okay.
and then this young girl was killed because of him. So maybe he kind of feels like he can relate to that since he has those sisters that he wanted to protect, and he couldn't even protect a stranger.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't even think about it. I didn't even make the connection between that. So
Yeah.
yeah, good
And
point.
then the other thing is he also has the dagger that he was told not to take.
Yeah, still.
So there could be something going on with that too.
Still has the cursed dagger. Yeah. So I guess that's where the sickness is. Like I assume. So they haven't shown
Hmm.
him weaving. So I guess the best theory could be that his sickness is from the
Yeah.
dagger. I don't know. That's what I'll go with. Okay, so then we have a new scene with Nynaeve.
Yeah. So they're sort of in the White Tower now, right?
Yep.
And Moraine and Lan are talking to her, and she's still saying she doesn't trust the Aes Sedai. She doesn't care about anything other than where her friends are. Um, and one thing I wanted to note was that Moraine says, "Do not underestimate the woman in this tower," and that was the first line of dialogue that we ever heard from the show on the like little 5-second Twitter clip that
Oh.
they put that dialogue over a shot of her from episode 1
Oh yeah.
for some reason.
I didn't remember that at all.
Yeah, that was just kind of cool. Um, but Moraine's when she said that, she's warning her like this is the center of all of the culture of the world and all of the politics, and she's basically saying don't underestimate them. They're gonna eat you alive if you do. Um,
Yeah, just warning her that because she thinks that she can be above it all. Like Nynaeve's like trying to position herself that she doesn't need guidance and she doesn't want to be involved in all this. And Moraine's like, yeah, but that's not possible. So so why don't you listen to what I'm telling you so that you can save yourself some major some major trouble.
yeah,
All
and
right. So then Lan walks out
mhm,
and Moraine tells Nynaeve that the touching of the one power is a gift and she should recognize that. She tells Nynaeve that she will bring her to her friends when she
yeah,
finds them.
yeah, because Nynaeve kind of says like, um, "Will you really tell me if you find them?" Because she doesn't trust her fully,
Yeah, not at all. Yeah.
and so she sort of has a moment with her where she's like, "You're special, and you need to understand that because what you did was really significant."
Yeah.
But Moraine's kind of reassuring her, said, "I will tell you."
Yeah. Do you believe her?
Well, we see later in the episode that she doesn't need her help.
Yeah, I
That doesn't
guess.
matter, I guess. But
Yeah.
I think she would have told her.
I kind of think so too. I think they're trying to I think the show's trying to position Moraine as like the most trustworthy of the Aes Sedai,
Yeah,
especially between her and
and
uh
Adrian and
yeah, and all the rest of them that they show on screen.
yeah.
Well, yeah. At any rate, so next scene, we switch perspective, switch plot lines again and go back to Perrin and Egwin, and
Hmm.
they're with the Tinkerers. And um, why don't you tell us a little bit about that scene?
So they're traveling, and Perrin he kind of makes a comment about the dogs, which is kind of funny because the dogs are like attacking other animals.
Yeah, they're like eating the guts of, I don't know what those are supposed to be, if they're supposed to be hogs or
Yeah, I'm not sure.
something.
Which is, I thought it was just kind of humorous that maybe the tinkerers don't think that animals have souls or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But another thing that's kind of interesting is Perrin has his hair um, done like how Aram did now.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
He has like the same sort of curls or like however they did his hair. So
Oh,
he grew it out some in the month.
oh yeah. Well,
Um,
I guess I'm not very observant because that didn't
yeah, and
click with me.
I think Matt's hair might have been a little bit longer. I know that Rand's hair looked longer. But anyways, so they're arriving at the White Tower. So we think that everyone's going to finally be reunited in this
Right.
episode. Well, I guess it's only been what, 1 or 2 episodes since that they've been separated.
Yeah, since was it episode 3 they got separated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But before they can get there, they get stopped by our white cloaks.
Yeah.
And
The
Amy.
most interesting group in the whole show to me so far.
Yeah, so Egwene and Perrin are kind of farther back. They're not at the front. But Isla and Rain are at the top or the front of the line, and the White Cloaks stop them, and they're looking for the false dragon. So presumably this is still following up on the lead from episode 2, maybe.
Yeah, I would assume so.
It just took them a month.
Well, they walk slow.
Yeah. So, but Isla's saying like, we mean you no harm. We're tinkerers.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
Aemon sees Egwene and Perrin, and he recognizes them from episode 2, and he wants to speak to them because obviously they're out of place, and he's suspicious of them now.
Yep.
So the Tinkerers basically tried to defend or block them from the White Cloaks.
Yeah, because he says, "What are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do? You can't stop us from taking them or whatever." And then there's some dialogue about nonviolence, etc.
The way of the leaf.
Right, and then they all link hands to form kind of a human chain around the group. They're kind of circling the wagons in a different sort of way. And then the White Cloaks attack them.
Yeah, they start punching them.
Yeah, like slapping and punching and all that.
But it doesn't really seem to affect them too much.
Yeah.
So Perrin and Egwene are able to flee, and they get pretty far, but they're running with Aram.
Yep.
But Aram gets knocked over with a horse, knocked in the head.
Yeah.
And he falls down, and they get surrounded.
Yeah.
By the White Cloak.
I really hated that last shot of that scene where it's kind of an overhead shot with the 3 horses like running around them, because they're so close to them. They're like literally within like 2 feet of them. It's like, why are the horses like that? I mean, they're doing it because it looks cool on camera, but I'm like, that is not practical. Like, why would you 3 horses circling 2 people within like 2 feet of them? It's not very.
I just felt bad for Aram. Like,
get
a concussion, or if he's still alive.
Yeah, he's knocked over and just kind of left. Yeah, he just, I guess, left for dead, basically. I don't know. All right, so we presume that Egwene and Perrin are going to be taken by the White Cloaks.
Yeah.
And now the scene shifts, and we're back with Rand. And this is a interesting scene.
So he's in the library, and he's sort of looking at books. Maybe he's trying to figure out something for Matt if he is able to channel.
Yeah, it's not explained what he's doing in the library.
Yeah, but then so this creature approaches him, and he introduces himself as Loyal, right?
Loyal, yeah, like loyal, but just pronounced slightly differently. Loyal.
And it scares Rand at first because it's not a human.
Yeah.
But he's like, "Oh, you humans are always like this when you see an Ogier."
Yeah.
So basically,
what did you think about the looks of that character?
Yeah, so this is one of the things that the showrunner Rafe has talked about. So in the books, they're sort of described as like an ogre looking creature, and to fully um, sort of get the look that the book had, they would need like a fully CGI character.
Okay.
So they went with the makeup instead. And I thought it actually doesn't look too bad. I think it looks good.
I think it looks interesting, but it's definitely an uncanny valley sort of situation. It
I
made
think
me,
it'll take some getting used to.
yeah, it made me feel really uncomfortable.
But
Like,
the
I'm
thing
like,
that
yeah, this person looks like something supernatural, but also kind of not. And it was like, right, felt like really in an in between space. And I'm like, I can't decide if this looks good or if this looks strange
yeah,
or what. Yeah, I don't know. The show seems to have like a dedication to using like practical effects wherever possible. Like a lot of the Trollocs are
yeah,
done like they're people in costume rather than pure CGI. And even for the Trollocs, it like works mostly, but there's times that it looks not quite right to me.
yeah,
And I wonder if they're kind of like, it's admirable that they want to do practical effects and try to do that instead of CGI, because everybody, CGI seems to be definitely the norm
yeah.
these
And if
days.
if they did CGI, so Loyal is like one of the main characters, so they would have to cut his scene significantly to
Oh,
save money.
you think it's a cost thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least that's what Rafe said.
Okay. Well, I
But
guess I believe him. I mean, can't argue with that, but it does seem like, I don't know. It doesn't seem quite right to me. It seems like it's 90% there, but like I said, which I think that's what the uncanny valley thing kind of is. It's like so close to looking
yeah,
right, but somehow it's like not quite over the finish line.
but I
And
think what does work is his acting. Like I thought he did a great job.
yeah, whoever's doing that is doing a pretty good job
Yeah,
under all those prosthetics and
his
makeup.
name is Hamid Amishan. So I think
Yeah.
he did well.
Yeah, it's
Um,
fine.
but he
I did feel like they made the character seem like, I get the character is supposed to be like his attitude towards humans is supposed to be kind of like wondrous, that he thinks that
yeah,
humans are kind of odd but fun, like cute,
he's a little
but
timid too.
kind of hard to understand, and he's like kind of tickled by all these habits and customs that humans have.
Yeah,
But I do like I do feel like it makes him come across a little bit childish. Like it's like a fine line between being tickled by human custom and acting like childish and immature. And so I hope that they I hope that they can walk that line without making Loyal come across as this kind of childish rather than like amused.
yeah. I think that's part of his character too, because he's definitely younger compared to the other Ogiers. So,
Oh, okay.
but you'll probably find out more about that later.
That's your book knowledge coming in here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he does have like that sense of wonder, and he talks about how he's left his steading,
Right.
so
Yeah.
he's out of place for his species too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Um,
true. Okay. So Rand's in the library with Loyal,
yeah,
and Loyal confuses him to say something more about that because based on his red hair.
yeah. So remember in episode 3, right? That was with Tom, was that
Yep.
episode? And when they buried the Aiel, Tom mentioned that all Aiel have red hair, and so Loyal thinks that Rand is an Aiel warrior because he has his sword and he's got red hair as well. Um, so they sort of have a little misunderstanding with that. Which
Right. Why are we supposed to not think that Rand is an Aiel?
yeah,
Besides, he just says that he's not.
it's a good question.
Okay. Because they keep hinting at, they're like, oh, you have red hair and this and that.
Yeah,
And like,
I,
why do they keep like the narrative keeps, the story, in the story they keep bringing it up.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that this is some kind of, they're reminding the audience of this, like this is some kind of forewarning that maybe Rand doesn't realize what he is.
Yeah, and
Question mark.
they're reminding you about the Aiel, and then they're making that connection for the red hair.
Yeah.
If you hadn't made it yourself already in episode 3.
Yeah. Okay, so then what next?
So he's looking at the books, and he sees one that Edwin used to read, and he talks about how it reminds him of her. So Loyal kind of knows that he's looking for someone now, right?
Right.
But before they can continue talking, the Aes Sedai interrupt, and so they're standing near a window, and they're able to see that they're sort of parading Logain around for everyone in the streets to see the dragon, the false dragon in the city.
So are we supposed to think that Logain was that infamous that when they bring him to the White Tower, it's like that everyone's rejoicing? That seemed weird to me.
Well, I think any male that can channel has that infamous connotation to it.
Okay, yeah, good point.
And they're afraid of the dragon, so they're glad that he was captured.
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering more of like, in this setting, it's not like they have radio or TV or the internet. So how do all the people in the city learn about that there's a person named Logain who says that he's the Dragon Reborn and he can channel and he's very powerful, all this stuff? Because it seems to me that that's the kind of information the Aes Sedai would not be spreading around, that they want to keep that, keep that secret. And so that's what I was wondering, like, how do all these people know exactly what's going on?
Maybe his conquests were just that big that you couldn't really hide it. Like he took over a city.
I guess so. I mean, that's what it must be.
Several battles. So
yeah, I mean, it must be that it just traveled by mouth.
Yeah.
From person to person or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're parading through the street.
Yeah, and Rand sort of leaves Loyal, and he's looking because he sees that Matt sort of got out of his bed, his sick bed, to see what's going on.
Right.
And they sit on like a pillar, or sort of like a balcony, and they're watching the parade. And Logain is like, obviously, since he's been gentled, like he's kind of going crazy, like.
Yeah, he's scared.
And he looks at Matt and he sort of has an evil laugh.
Yeah, that was a weird scene. That made me wonder, like, why is he laughing at Matt if he's been gentled? Like, I can understand that if he hasn't been gentled, then he has some kind of power, like he can tell that there's something going on with Matt because he's rich with power, but now he's been gentled. So how exactly does that work? I don't know.
Maybe he can still sense whatever's going on with Matt somehow.
I guess. I don't know.
So, and this is the part where you notice in the crowd, we see the character from episode 1, Padan Fain, is in the city, right?
Yeah.
And so he's sort of watching as well, and he's hard to notice, but he's there in the background. And earlier we see him watching Rand and Matt when they go into the inn.
A little foreshadowing that we haven't seen the last of that character.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice little Easter egg there.
Yeah, it's sort of a blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah.
If you're not paying attention.
Yeah, it's cool.
But so after they see Logain, Matt and Rand sort of make a deal. And because Matt's sort of getting nervous about what's going on with him, and he says, if anything happens and it turns out that either of us can channel, he wants to make a deal to not let the other one go mad by their channeling.
Yeah. Kind of a suicide pact.
Yeah. So, and of course, Rand agrees. because he's sort of worried for Matt.
Yeah. He wants to make his friend feel better.
Yeah.
Okay, so then moving on, the next scene is with the Warders and Stefan.
Yeah, so they're sort of preparing him for the funeral, or I guess ceremony. They had a funeral. And he talks about how he first met Karini. So he was younger. They were both younger, and he sort of stupidly tried to challenge her, and she humored him, but he lost. And they ended up going for a drink and became good friends. And eventually, he was asked by her to become her warder, and he agreed.
Yeah, a little origin story there for their
Mhm.
relationship.
Yeah, and all the warders are talking, and Lynn mentions like you can still bond with another, like if you still want that connection. And he sort of says, Stefan says like he doesn't want that. He wants Karini back.
Yeah, well, okay. I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah. So then they move on, and the part of the ceremony is uh, involves him putting Karini's ring in like a lava molten steel molten
Yeah,
something. I'm not sure exactly what it was supposed to be.
it's
So
like a fire pit with lava in it.
yeah, what do you make of that?
The only thing I can think of is that it had something to do with the mountain, like the lava from the mountain nearby.
Yeah, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. I'm just wondering if that's what if that was if that's what they if that's the substance they make all the rings from. So
Yeah,
when
maybe they
they
melt them down and then reforge them.
right, yeah, that's what I was wondering.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Possible.
maybe we'll find out someday.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we go back to the white cloak. The scene shifts. We go back with the white cloaks, and they're bathing Edwin, and which was weird. Like it almost seemed like they were brushing her down like a horse. It was
Yeah.
it was weird, kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, I
So
was gonna say it's very uncomfortable. The
yeah,
whole
yeah. And then so they're bathing her, and
they put her in white clothing.
yeah. And then okay, then what happens?
So they bring her into the room with Eamon, and he's got like his meal again. I guess he likes to eat in front of
Guys,
people.
yeah, guy's always eating. Okay.
And they bring in Perrin, but he did not get this treatment. And they sort of tie him up and gag him and put him on some sort of like torture device.
Some kind of mechanism, yeah, where he's kind of splayed out.
Yeah, so Eamon wants to interrogate them. He wants to know if she's an Aes Sedai, if Egwin's an Aes Sedai, and Perrin's a warder, or if Perrin might be a false dragon and she's helping him.
Yeah.
Um, so
So we have like a kind of a torture scene here. What did you think of the? It's pretty explicit, I thought.
of the cutting of Perrin,
Yeah, on his back.
yeah, it looked painful.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked that they kind of went there. I thought maybe they would show that off camera,
Mm-hmm.
but they showed like a decent amount on camera, which I was
And the cut looked pretty
surprised.
deep too. It wasn't just like a little.
Yeah. He was really going for it.
Yeah, so poor Perrin, he had the injured leg or ankle, wasn't it? And
Before, yeah.
now he has his back cut,
Yeah.
cleaved open.
And then so during that, like I think a big takeaway is during that parent's eyes begin to kind of glow like
Yeah,
yellowish or goldish or whatever. And we don't know why. We'll come back to that. I think that comes again later. We
yeah.
can talk more about that. But yeah, that's weird.
And Aemon's sort of torturing him so that Egwin will say that I'm an Aes Sedai.
Yeah, right. He says that if you admit it, then I'll stop torturing Perrin.
Yeah,
But she keeps insisting that she can't weave, and she's not wrong, right?
yeah.
She's
And she
never
hasn't taken the oath yet, so she can't. If she can lie, so
right. She's not an Aes Sedai, so
yeah,
she can lie, but at the same time, as far as I know, she's telling the truth that she doesn't weave magic or anything, but
I mean, we saw her start the fire in episode 3.
That's true. Does that
And
count?
I think so.
Okay. All right. All right.
So she's holding back, but
Yeah. Is that when they started the fire to get away from the wolves?
yeah, she
That's
started
what-
because Perrin couldn't get the fire started, so she
Yeah,
sort of like did it underneath.
that's true.
And I
Damn.
can't
Okay.
remember
You're
if
right.
in episode 2 she did anything or not.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You have better memory than I do.
Yeah, but
Okay.
they're continuing the torture. And
Yeah, right. Okay, and then we switch scenes again with Stefan and is in Nynaeve's room
yeah,
to get, I guess he's drunk. He's drunk and he wants to sleep, but he's having trouble sleeping. So he goes to her and asks her for
yeah,
like a special kind of tea that she has made for him before.
to help with the pain.
Yeah, so he can sleep or whatever.
Hmm.
And she tells him that basically like the pain's never going to leave.
Yeah.
So you need to figure, I guess the subtext is you need to find a way to deal with it because you're not going to be drinking this tea every night to knock, like some kind of narcotic tea to knock
So
yourself out.
I think this goes back to the whole um, backstory that we got for her, where she talked about what didn't she talk about how her parents were killed, and then the wisdom kind of took her in. So
Yeah.
she's
That's how she
talking.
learned that stuff.
Yeah, so that's sort of why she's so hardened and doesn't trust anyone.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I
Yeah,
would
but
agree with that.
so then he gets his stuff, and she decides to just walk around and take a look at the tower.
Yeah.
And she's looking at these statues of the warders, which kind of line the halls of the White Tower.
Yep.
And Leandrin comes up to her, and they sort of they keep having these weird discussions, where they don't really say much. But it's like Leandrin wants something from her, and so in this one they talk about the Reds and how they don't have any warders.
And that I have to admit that had not occurred to me in
Yeah,
watching that the Blues, I guess, all had warders.
yeah, I think everyone except the Reds.
Yeah, and so I guess what we're supposed to think now is that they, it's pointed out that the Reds don't have warders, and I thought, oh well, I guess that's true. I
They
never
don't
noticed
trust
that
men.
before. Yeah, and then it's pointed out that like they really don't trust men. I'm like, well, that makes sense then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then Leandrin kind of says something weird about like you can go to the garden.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what that was about.
Not sure either. I hope it'll be explained better later.
Maybe.
Okay, so then the next scene, we have Loyal again in the scene. It's his last appearance in this episode. So he comes into Rand and Matt's room with Nynaeve.
Yeah, so I guess some time passed in between those two scenes, and she wandered out into the city or something, or I guess Loyal said that he went into the White Tower.
Yeah,
because Ogiers are allowed to go there.
Yeah, I told him as I was watching this episode, I was watching it with my wife, and I turned to her and I said, "Man, I hate that those scenes were back to back like that. It's like kind of."
Actually, now that you mention it, maybe Loyal went into the garden, and she went there because Leandrin mentioned the gardens.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe it was a deleted scene.
They could have done a better job with that segue in between the scenes. But at any rate, what we have is Loyal bringing Nynaeve back to Rand and Matt's room, and so now they're reunited.
Yeah, and the first thing she notices is Matt is not doing well at all now.
Yeah, he's like slowly dying in the cot over there.
He like can't even move now.
Yeah.
And she tries to take a look at him since she has those wisdom and maybe like the channeling powers.
Yeah.
But he sort of snaps at her like he did it to the kid.
Yeah, don't touch me. I think he says, "Don't touch, don't touch me."
And Nynaeve and Rand kind of go into the hallway, and he talks to her about how he's afraid that Matt can channel and that he's going crazy. Right.
Yeah.
And they talk about Edwin and Perrin and how he's afraid for Edwin too. Like he doesn't know where she is or if she's safe. And
Mhm.
so Nynaeve tells a story from her childhood, from Egwin's childhood. And so she was a young girl and she got what they called the breakbone fever, which is where you get really sick and then your bones somehow collapse and break on themselves.
Yeah, like bending. She said something about bending backwards. They start to bend backwards
Yeah. So
somehow.
basically
Yeah,
your spine snaps in half or
I
something.
guess she mentions their. I thought their legs or their knees or something starting to
Yeah.
bend backwards or whatever.
And so she says that the old wisdom basically was preparing a cocktail to basically put her out of her misery,
Right.
like a
Yeah.
tea that will kill her. But Egwin refused. She wouldn't take it. She said, "I'm not. It's not my time. You know, I've got a
Yeah.
lot of things I want to do." And so she pushed through, and the fever broke in the morning, and she survived. And then Nynaeve basically says she's unbreakable, and she can take care of herself. Like she'll get through this.
Yeah. It's
And
a good
and it,
story. Yeah.
and as soon as she says that, then we go back to the scene where
Yeah.
Perrin's getting tortured.
Yeah. Speaking of unbreakable, we're about to find out if Perrin is unbreakable. So
Yeah,
in this scene, Egwene and Perrin are basically arguing over
yeah,
who's gonna die.
because Aemon says like, "I'll give you a choice. Either he's a dragon or you're a channeler. Which
Yeah.
one is gonna confess?"
Yeah. It's weird that he doesn't give the option for both or none. It's like
Well,
one
I
of
think he's
you's
already made his decision that one of them's gonna die,
yeah, I guess so. But
so there's no none involved.
yeah.
I
Not
think
very
they're kind of sadistic.
not very professional. Yeah. He's not really allowing for the truth to come out. He wants to
Yeah,
kill somebody and hopefully have somebody be a useful
yeah,
prisoner or whatever. So whatever. So yeah, so not to repeat ourselves, but he says, one of you,
hmm
either you're the dragon reborn or you're a channeler. And until one of you, if you don't admit it, then one of you
hmm
will die. So one of you needs to admit it, and then the other one will die. And so then they're arguing about which one
yeah,
is gonna sacrifice themselves, basically.
and
So while they're doing that, Aemon comes back
hmm
and starts cutting Perrin more.
well,
And like,
remember, Perrin also confesses, right, at this point
yeah,
to Egwin
yeah,
before he comes in. He says like, "I killed my wife. I don't
yeah,
deserve to be alive."
yeah. We shouldn't leave that out. So it's for the first time, Perrin relates that story of his wife's death.
Yeah, and he's still feeling guilty, so he doesn't even want to live anymore.
Yeah,
Or he'll give himself up because he doesn't feel like he's worthy of um, living with her dying, with
yeah,
Egwin dying.
yeah,
But then, yeah, so then he comes back in and he starts sawing away at Perrin's back and sort of like cutting in the opposite direction, so it's even more gruesome.
yeah,
And Egwin's basically struggling, um, and she finally is able to channel again, and she throws like a little fireball at Aemon, but it doesn't really do anything, right?
yeah. It's pretty weak.
So he sort of laughs and was like, "Well, you revealed yourself, but that's not going to do anything to me." And while he's doing that, he's sort of taunting her. She's able to burn off the ropes from Perrin's restraints, right?
Yeah,
And when he does that, he gets out and he sort of goes into a rage and his eyes glow again.
yeah. He kind of hulks out where his eyes are changing color and all that,
Yeah,
and he approaches uh
amen.
Aemon, and Aemon is like freaking out because he's not much of a fighter, turns out.
And I think now he's convinced that they're both.
So yeah, that he bit off way more than he can chew here.
And he's like, "What
And
are you?"
yeah. He's kind of praying. He does some kind of prayer too. I don't know. He says, "Oh, by the light or something. I can't remember exactly what he says.
Yeah.
So anyway, while he's focused on Perrin, Egwin picks up a knife and stabs him in the neck, and then they run out.
Yeah.
And as soon as they run out, they can tell that something's going on, that like the camp is under attack.
Yeah.
And
It's the middle of the night kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, it's dark outside.
And we see that the pack of wolves have arrived.
Yeah, so the camp is under attack by wolves, and Perrin and Egwin are trying to walk out of the camp, and they get confronted by one of the wolves, and Perrin says, "Don't worry, they won't hurt us."
Yeah. And the wolves are like going to town on them, like they're biting their throats out. Like,
yeah, they really are. But this goes back to what was that, episode 3, where they encounter those wolves, and Perrin is able to, like, the wolves lick at Perrin's wound on his leg and all that.
It was 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So he definitely has a connection with the wolves.
Yes. And so do we think that his glowing eyes have a connection to the wolves? Is that what we're supposed to think?
I think you're led to believe that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I put together, but they don't say specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously they're safe and they're able to escape because the wolves won't hurt them.
Yep. Okay. That was a cool ending to that scene, I think.
Yeah. And we got more of the white cloaks. So.
Yeah. When the white cloaks finally got some pushback, because they've gotten all, in every scene that they've been in, they've been able to do their thing without any kind of repercussions or pushback from anybody. But so this wolf attack is the first time the white cloaks have had any consequences for their pursuits, and so I found that interesting.
I do think that Aemon's still alive though, because he seemed to get up from getting stabbed in the neck.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean that's just like a pet peeve. It's like a main villain or main character gets attacked, but always disabled and never killed. Like, come on.
Maybe Egwin wasn't ready to go for the heart or whatever. I guess what would kill you with a gut, maybe.
Yeah. All right. All right. So next scene, Leandrin and Moraine. So why don't you tell us about that part?
Yeah, so it's sort of another little, every scene that Leandrin's in is kind of like suspicious, but she's confronting Moraine now, like, and saying, "Where did Nynaeve go?"
Yeah, she's always trying to further her agenda. Like, every scene for her is it's never just kind of like character development so much as it is just Lorraine trying to further her scheme.
Yeah, and so she's asking where Nynaeve is, even though she just told her to go to the garden.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But they talk about how she'll eventually become a novice. So the Aes Sedai are going to train her. And Leandrin says, like, you aren't always here at the White Tower. You won't be able to protect her. And Moraine's she pretty much says, like, oh, so you want her for the Red Aja then? And they also mentioned maybe the Yellows will want her. So I think they're just talking about, like, who is this powerful new novice going to be aligned with?
Yeah, because she says something about the Yellows because she because her healing power, I guess, is strong. Like, that was her big outburst, was a healing situation. So they're saying that maybe the Yellows will want.
Yeah, I think they might be the healers.
Yeah, I mean that's what I took away from it, that the Yellows must be the healer. So the blue are the spies, the red are the ones that go after the people using powers that shouldn't. And what was the other color? Greens?
Lana is a green, and they're the battle.
They're getting ready for the final showdown.
I don't know if they mentioned it, but there's 7.
Oh, 7 colors? 7 Ajas?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we know 4, I guess, and so the yellow are the healers. Cool. Okay, and then what's our next scene?
So then we're back to Stefan, and he's sort of praying and preparing like a ward to keep away evil, and he has like these idols, and he's talking with Lan about how they represent the Forsaken, and so these were sort of like they were powerful dark friends that sold their souls for eternal life to the Dark One. And they talk about how the last dragon sealed them away, locked them away with the Dark One. And Lan kind of takes this as like Stepan's like kind of he needs someone around or else things are going to go bad, you know?
Yeah, he's being very melancholy to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have that scene where he's just being very sad.
And Lan says that he'll stay with him through the night.
Right. And then the scene switches and we have back with Alana.
Yeah, so she's going to actually offer Stefan to become her third warder.
Yeah.
And
number 3.
And Moraine kind of mentions that she might want to release Lan.
Yeah, she hints at it in a kind of a weird way.
Yeah, so maybe she sees what happened with Stefan and she doesn't want that to happen to Lan. You know?
Yeah, I guess.
Doesn't want him to suffer.
But I don't understand if her point is that she wants to let Lan off the hook, so to speak, and then take on another warder, or if she's just decided that she doesn't want a warder. It just seems weird if all the blues have warders, if all the Aes Sedai have warders except for the red, then why would she?
Maybe if she knows that she's, going to go on some mission where she could possibly not survive, then she would consider it, kind of thing.
I guess, but they haven't hinted that she's going on some kind of suicide mission or anything.
Yeah, maybe they're just bringing that up to mention that it can be released, to
I guess.
build the lore.
Who knows? The end of this episode seems a little loosey-goosey to me, like these last few scenes, but at any rate, so they're talking and she mentions that bonds can be released.
Yeah.
And then Alana says, no, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, she's like, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. Okay, then what else?
And they mentioned the Amerlin seat. So they mentioned that she is in Camelin right now. So we haven't seen her yet. Like the leader of the Aes Sedai is not on the White Tower right now.
Right.
But she said that word is that she's returning and she's sort of is not happy about the gentling of Loghain. And she's out for blood, she says.
I don't understand what does that mean? Like what is she unhappy about? Or what could she be unhappy about?
Well, remember they said that they wanted a trial.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. But they didn't really have much choice.
Yeah. Well, and that could be back to Leandrin setting it up so they didn't have a choice.
That could be.
So maybe she's mad at Leandrin. Like, we don't really know.
Right. Okay.
Everything with the Aes Sedai, they're being vague. I'm like, to the point where you have no idea what their motivations are.
Yeah. And that's okay. Like, that also is interesting in its own way.
Yeah.
But it gives you a lot of ammunition to kind of get frustrated with, like, okay, well, this is happening and why and how and etc. But I'm assuming that in these next couple episodes we'll find out more as we spend more time in the White Tower.
Yeah, but Alana says that Moraine could be one who could challenge the Amerlin seat. So I guess there's sort of a function in place to replace them. Like if you're not happy.
Yeah, and I found that a curious comment because I didn't understand if she meant like that Moraine is powerful for lack of a better term, like in a physical way, like she's just like powerful in a magic kind of way, or if she's powerful in a political way. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference there. Like are they saying you're a powerful warrior that could overcome foes in a duel sort of situation or a battle situation, or is she saying that Moraine is like politically strong where she could
Yeah,
do some political maneuverings to kind of take the office or take the chair?
we don't really know how you
Yeah,
get that, so
yeah.
it could be either.
I assume it's political that
Yeah,
she
that's what
could.
it seems like.
Yeah,
And she also says that she's been making a lot of enemies. So Leandrin, and um, she says she has two enemies now. So I wonder if she's implying that the Amerlin seat would be the other one.
I think so. And this whole conversation just made my mind kind of explode because on the one hand she says, oh, you're the only one that can challenge the Amelin seat because you're
Yeah,
so powerful, and then she says, oh, also you're making very powerful enemies. So what does that mean? Like, how can you, I mean, I guess there's a way in which this does make sense, but they're starting to get like kind of split hairs and get kind of gray with saying you're very, very powerful, but
yeah,
you're also making very powerful enemies. So it makes me wonder, like, if you're very powerful but you have very powerful enemies, does that still make you very powerful? Like, how can you be powerful enough to take over the political apparatus of the Aes
yeah,
Sedai if you also have very powerful enemies? It just seems like, I mean, like I said, it's possible. Like, and there's ways in which that works out, just depending on the kind of mechanics of the political situation. But it does seem that they're kind of walking a line where they're trying to make her both very powerful, but also very under,
hmm
like, in a very precarious situation where she's both powerful but also um at risk of being undermined by very powerful people. So
and,
I think they
and
have some more work to do. Like,
yeah,
I wish that was more show and less tell, because all the things, we've not really seen anything that would make us believe that necessarily, and everything, they're just telling us this information
yeah. And she
without,
also
like,
says
really,
all the
without
red.
showing it all.
She says that like Aja, other than the red, are starting to believe Leandrin. So even then, it's showing that she's losing her influence.
Yeah, so what does that
So
mean? I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. Yeah,
Yeah,
the only thing it did was made me not trust Alana more, which I'm not sure if that's what they were intending.
that's true. Yeah, I don't think that's what they're intending, though, but it makes her seem like an unreliable narrator.
Yeah, it's like what was her goal in saying that? But I think
Yeah.
that they were childhood friends, so you're supposed to trust her.
Yeah, I think they want you to trust her.
Yeah, but everything with the Aes Sedai is like that. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping they stay in the White Tower and they don't leave and go somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Next,
I want more of that. Like, I
one
want
more
more.
episode just with, if the Amerlin shows up, maybe they can flesh out what she was talking about.
Yeah. I'm assuming we'll get that,
Yeah.
but I don't know for sure. So also very confusing end of that scene where Moraine
hmm
goes to kind of like a window.
Yeah, it almost looked like a portrait to me, but I
Yeah.
couldn't tell.
And yeah, then opens it up and it's like a picture of somebody looking out of a window. Was it looking out a window? It's a woman looking out
Yeah,
at a window or at another painting or something. Anyway, very confusing. There's no context at
yeah.
all for that. And
I
so,
didn't know what that was either. So, but I
yeah,
thought it was worth noting.
I have no idea. So hopefully in the next episode they'll provide some kind of context for that. Otherwise, it's a very odd way to end that scene.
Hopefully, that whole scene was setting up the next episode.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the next scene with Stefan and Lan.
So yeah, they're sort of having their sleepover because Lan is watching them,
Slumber party.
guarding them.
Yeah.
Um, and he talks about the bond, how he might bond with Alana, and he said like, "Oh, I'll have to sleep with the men now," like
Yeah.
the two male warders.
Right. Yeah. Sex jokes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
more of that.
Yeah.
And he brings up to Lan, Nynaeve, and he's like, "Don't you notice what's going on with her? The way she looks at you, she saved your life." And he basically says she's falling in love with you or she's falling for you. And Lan sort of says like, um, what does he say? Like she's, I forget how he puts it at the end there.
Yeah, but do you? I 100% don't get that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
Well, I think they had one scene where they kind of were bonding by the fire, but I think we need to see more of them together.
Yeah, I think it's another example of there's a lot of telling and not enough showing.
Yeah. Well, because they tried to build that up because she saved him.
Yeah.
Like earlier in that last episode, they tried to build up how they felt about each other.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know. I would like to see more of that before
Yeah.
it becomes a plot line. Before it becomes like a focus of
Yeah.
later episodes, their potential love affair that seems there needs to be a little bit more groundwork laid there, but I don't think we'll see it. I think
Yeah.
they figure they've done enough, but I still think it's weird. Okay, so then next scene, it's the morning. Lan, I suppose it's the morning. Anyway, Lan wakes up, and he wakes up like he's been drugged, like he's still holding a cup.
Mm-hmm.
So he wakes up and he's on the floor. So he wakes up on the floor. He has a cup in his head, a empty cup in his hand. I guess we're supposed to assume he was drugged by Stefan.
Did you catch that? It was probably the stuff that Nynaeve gave him.
The tea, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I assume that's what it is, yeah.
Because it would make sense like he got it from her and then put
Yeah,
it in
yeah.
Lan's drink.
That's actually some like nice plotting for the
Mm-hmm.
episode. And then they look and there's like a display of knives on a table or a mantelpiece or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's obvious that one of the knives is missing.
Mm-hmm.
So Lan panics and
Slow-mo run.
yeah, and he races out of the room and he goes and finds Lan, and Lan has used the
Or
knife. What's that?
Stepin.
Oh, yeah. Lan finds Stefan.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry if I misspoke. And then Stefan has killed himself, like slashed his wrists or whatever with the knife, in front of in that hall with all the statues of the warders.
So he couldn't live without Karini.
Yeah. So, R.I.P. Stefan.
Yeah, I thought he was a good actor, so it's kind of
it's kind of a bummer.
And it was,
but it's also
well.
but it's also nice to know that characters will die.
Yeah.
Like I kind of hate it when you have a show where all these terrible things are happening all the time, but there's no consequences. Like nobody ever dies, or if they die, they come back, or it looks like they die, but then they recover, and all these kind of shenanigans. So it is kind of nice to see.
Last episode, right? Or no, 2 episodes ago, or last episode when Tom sacrificed himself. Do you count that as a death?
I don't know. I don't know that he's dead. Like I'm not ready to say that he's dead. He's just not there. Like the last time we saw him, he was fighting with the Fade.
Well, and Matt says he's dead, right?
Yeah, but I don't know how he would know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they ran out of the farmhouse and they left him to fight the Fade. So I don't know why we would expect him to know if he lived or died. I don't know I don't know if the show wants us to just take Rand's word for it. And okay, now Tom's, that's the final word that Tom's dead, or if we're supposed to just take that with a grain of salt or what.
We didn't see the body, so
yeah, that's on my attitude. Like no body.
But we see Stefan's body.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so the next scene is the final scene.
Yeah.
And the warders, the warders and the Aes Sedai are together, and they have a funeral for Stefan.
Mm-hmm.
And that scene was a little long, I want to say. Like
it was intense.
It was a little bit, it was a little long and a little overwrought in my mind. But
a lot of people made fun of that shot in the trailer.
Yeah,
it was a little screamy.
It was a little much. And he didn't just scream one time. It was like a series of screens and all the chest thumping and all that stuff. So.
The actual suicide worked. Like it didn't seem like it was written poorly.
I agree with that.
And the actor, I forget his name. I know he was in Vikings. He did a great job.
Yeah.
With Stefan.
No complaints there.
So I think they're building up like the whole Warder relationship by using this character.
Yeah.
So you can see that with Lan and his fears, or how he feels around Moraine.
Yeah, I agree. So we've reached the end of the episode. Do you have any general thoughts on the episode as a whole?
Yeah, I still think maybe the last episode was my favorite just because of the action more.
Yeah, this one was definitely slower.
But I think that the show is definitely finding a good pace now. Like the first maybe 2 or 3 episodes where it seemed a little sped up, and now it feels like things are moving smoothly, and we're getting more character moments and more time to build like the lore and all of the culture of the world.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's pretty, for the most part, I think the show's moving pretty confidently. Like you can see what the overall plot is, that they're setting out plot lines and carrying through with them in a way that is pretty satisfying. I do like that we have another episode where a kind of main-ish character dies.
Yeah, so we had 2 in a row.
Yeah, I think that's important, that the characters aren't bulletproof. They
Yeah.
can live or die. I feel like that's important. I like that this episode we got to revisit the White Cloaks. I still think they're the kind that they're really, to me, they're really an intriguing like faction. I do kind of wish, now that we've seen them a few times, I do hope that they flesh out those characters a little bit more, because they're, as of this point, they're really one note, right? You just
They're one dimensional.
Yeah, they just want to kill all the Aes Sedai. Other than that, we know literally nothing. Like, it would be interesting to know about the founding of the order or the sect or whatever, however you want to describe them. So I'm hoping to get some background, like a flashback or something.
I think they imply that it's sort of like a religious thing.
Yeah, I get that vibe, but I hope that we get more background on them, and I hope the background doesn't come in the form of dialogue. I hope it comes in the form of like an actual flashback and some
flesh out those characters, flesh out Aemon more.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and also when they were running out, Edwin grabbed his ring collection.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, she grabbed it. So he's probably going to chase after for that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, she grabbed it off the tent, in the tent.
Why do you think she did that?
Maybe to return it to the White Tower.
I guess so. That's that's some pretty good thinking ahead, though.
Yeah. Maybe she just knew that it was disrespectful.
Yeah.
You want to take it.
Or maybe she thinks that there's the rings don't have any inherent like power, right? They're just like ornamentation. They don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think so. But anyway, all right. Anything else we should mention before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I think we're good. There's not much that I can say like for predictions.
Yeah, I know the predictions are hard because all my predictions are pretty like big picture.
Yeah.
I did want to mention one pet peeve of mine that seems to be growing in my annoyance with it. All the outside scenes are really bright. Have you noticed that? Like, they're super bright. Like,
a little bit.
Think of like all the like fantasy and sci-fi series, like all the big ones lately, like The Expanse, Game of Thrones, etc. They all have a very dark appearance, which isn't to say that that's the only way you can do sci-fi and fantasy or whatever. But the outdoor scenes in this show are astonishingly bright. Like,
maybe that was a deliberate choice because they didn't want to look like Game of Thrones or something, or
that's what I wonder, because it seems like it can't be. It's definitely like a choice. I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's something that's happened by accident or happened by default. All the outdoor scenes are super bright. Like there's just light coming from everywhere. In fact, there's like several scenes that I saw like as they were approaching the White Tower, where they're showing the White Tower and the sky is cloudy. Like you look in the sky and it's cloudy
because the sky was CGI.
and it's bright as hell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, okay, if it's cloudy outside, where's all this light coming from? It is so bright. Like everything is so, I don't know if they want everyone to really see the detail of
it. Could be the digital and not film too.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just really bright. Like, I don't know. Look for that. Tell me if I'm crazy or not, because it seems like a lot of the exterior scenes, and there are kind of a lot of them in the show. They just seem super bright, even when they're like in the city, like when they get to the White Tower and they're kind of in the surrounding area, like in the alleyways and all that. It's still really bright, like unnaturally bright. Anyway, let's wrap it up. That was episode 5 of Pattern of the Ages. You can send us feedback at patternoftheages@gmail.com. That is patternoftheages@gmail.com. And until next time, thank you for listening.
See ya.